Well, howdy, everybody. This is the first episode of what I'm hoping is something that I can be consistent with of the Bacon Cowboy podcast. Name's still pending, so don't get too comfortable with that. I don't even know if that's what I want to stick with. But for now, as a placeholder, if you will, this will be called the Bacon Cowboy podcast. And if you have any suggestions, I would love to hear it. Please. Constructive criticism is very important. I need that more than anything, especially now. Um, right. So why am I doing a podcast? Well, I really wanted to try this out as an outlet for me as far as wanting to just really get I won't even say so much to get my name out there. This is just more of like an outlet for me to just, I guess, speak my mind, or this is an alternative to having to write in a journal, which is cool and all. Figured why not give this a shot? And I've been hearing from many people, which I don't understand, and maybe it's just me, but I've been hearing that I have a voice that would be good for radio or a podcast. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, let me give it a try. And y'all better be sticking with me after y'all hear this. And then it's just going to be like, oh, okay, so you really did this? Okay, I'm out. But we'll see. I'm not entirely sure what I should even talk about, let alone what this podcast should be based on. And to be completely honest with you, I've never really listened to a podcast. I mean, okay, I have, but it's not something that I personally will set aside time for. Especially, and you would think because of like my line of work, I deliver groceries. So I'm out on the road and I'm listening to the radio a lot. So you would think that's the perfect time to be listening to, podcasts or whatever. Like, nope, that is definitely not the case because I'd rather be listening to music, which my Apple Music would suggest that I don't listen to too much, but when I do listen to something, it's straight fire. Unlike me, which is true. Speaking of music, honestly, I'm not entirely sure what I like to listen to anymore. I mean, if you were to ask me 10 years ago, like, what's my music preference, or like, what is it that I like to listen to? Back then, it was very simple. For me, it was just a matter of if it sounds good, like if the instrumentals are good and the vocals, go with it, or even if the vocals were just, if what sounded better before, am I even making any sense here? Probably not. But anyways, my preference in music was very simple. It was based around if the instrumentals were good, like if there was a good rhythm, or if the lyrics were good, like there was a message to be told in that, or if it was a combination of both, then it was gonna end up on my playlist. This is all based on my iPod, or what is it? Do people still call music on their iPhone? Do they still call it an iPod? Because I have no idea. But if you were to check mine, I'm just gonna call it an iPod. Just makes it easier for a lot of us. And Apple, if you're listening to this, that's all I got. Okay, don't hate me. But yeah, my music back then was very simple. It was really just country and hip hop, which, if you think about it, yeah, it's a little bit out there, but now it's way out there. Like, I'm listening to so many different styles and different genres out there that, I mean, there's so many out there that I don't even know. Oh, I didn't even know existed, or there was a category for it. So what you think is like lo-fi is actually something else, or there's a specific name for that specific style of music, or just an instrumental. It's mainly just that. It's just instrumentals. There's no vocals in it, which, getting older, and I can't believe I'm gonna be 30 this year, just to put that into context. I'm getting old. My advice to y'all, do not get old. That's like the last thing y'all want. But what do I know? I'm just a kid ish. A kid who's turning 30. Yep, that's the way I want to go. We'll get into that in a little bit, but now it's just my taste in music. I mean, it's still structured around good rhythm, good vocals, or both, which is rare, but when it is, it's perfect. I can't describe it perfectly, but you'll know it when you hear it. So, um, and I'm always open to wanting to, I'm keeping my ears open, almost literally, to anything out there because music is, well, dependent. Well, it really depends on who you are, but music is a different language in which when you listen to it, it sounds good. Of course it does. I mean, most music does. Well, all of it does. It just depends on your preference again. But the other thing too is that music is pretty much a gateway or an escape, if you will, from the reality that we're in now. And for some of us, I don't know how y'all do it. Me personally, um, like it's like a way of decompressing. So I'll get home from like work or whatever, and I'll put my headphones on and just I'll put on my iPod and just I don't even pick a song. I just press play and it just goes, and I'll lay on my bed and then I'll just just chill. Which, if not done correctly, as in you listen to the song and you start drifting away, you'll end up taking a nap, and that nap turns into pretty much sleeping for half the day. Which, guilty many times. So I'm not gonna pretend I've never done it because I have many times. But uh, what I've done is I'll put a timer, and I'll put my music on, and after about 30 minutes, then I'll just like, okay, that's my decompressing. Um, that's just how I do it. I mean, there's other ways. Obviously, I will. If not that, then I'll get on my Xbox and I'll play with my friends online. I have quite a few. Um, and of those, I've met. You know what's crazy? Friendship doesn't. I mean, it's not just based on people you've met in person. Like your friendship. I mean, your friendship could be made anywhere, in any form, whether it's in person, online, or however. There's many ways to meet new people. But anyways, we're getting sidetracked there. That's gonna be the gist of this podcast, anyways, because I don't really have a topic, nor do I have really anything interesting to even discuss. So I had mentioned before that getting old is not exciting. So yeah, as I briefly mentioned, I'm 29. I'm gonna be 30 in September, which is it's fastly approaching, and I can't tell you that like I felt like when 2022 came around, I just blinked and we're already in March. Like what the heck? And not even just that, we're coming up on April, which is like somebody needs to tell. I don't know who you would even tell or what you would even say, but somebody just needs to like slow time down, or at the very least just I don't know. I just feel like everything's going too fast. I mean, there's stuff going on around the world, and then there's stuff in our own personal world. And either way, things are just going so fast. Like you can't even grasp what's going on. And I'm just like, somebody needs to just slow time down. Because I feel, as a routine, as it's been lately, I've just been waking up, go to work for, depending on the shift, it's usually like 6 to 9 nice hours. So um, my week is basically just spent at work, which is fine. It's not a big deal. Um, but even on the days off, like I feel like I sleep well into the day on my days off. And I mean, I'm not saying that sleeping for half the day is a good idea, but if you work a strenuous job for 4 or 5 days in a row, yeah, you're gonna get tired. And when you sleep good. And many people will tell you, I make it sound like it's a lot, but the people who get the honor of getting to sleep around me, they will tell you, when I'm out, I am out. Like nothing could possibly wake me up. Like there could be stuff coming from underground or stuff coming from the sky, and it just like one big kablam. And guess who's not going to be awake for it? Me, because I am out. I am out. But the difficult part of that is I find myself finding it difficult to sleep. Now, you could give me the most strongest dosage of melatonin. Is that what it's called? Yeah. And it will not work. And but I don't know. I've tried to just the same thing with the decompressing. But I'll go on YouTube and just put in like white noise, which is at the beginning it's like okay, who even listens to that? But at a good volume, and if you get used to it, yeah, it'll put you to sleep, which is weird but effective. Um, but it's also strange that when you go to work, I mean, it does take a lot out of you physically, mentally, and those times when you're like dozing off at work. I don't have that privilege of dozing off because if I do, probably gonna get into an accident, which is not what we want. um, but those times where like when you feel like you're dozing off, like oh, I just need to rest my eyes, like you have that while you're at work, but the second you get home, somebody explain how that energy that you felt at work, regardless if it was like you felt so good at the beginning, but then you just start getting tired and you just want to rest, and you can't do that because, well, you're on the clock. But the second you get home, somehow that just disappears. I don't know if it's just me, but as soon as I get home, I have a second wind. And it's like I want to do everything that I should have done now, which I remember one time I had that second win. I had to close, and so I got home like around 10:30 or 11, and I felt this amount of energy just out of nowhere. I got home, and it's like, bam! Guess who's gonna clean the apartment? Me, because what else am I gonna do? So I did. As a matter of fact, I rearranged some furniture because that's how much energy I had. I had enough to move my couch, my bed, my dresser, pretty much to rearrange some stuff around in the apartment. And it's not even that big. It's like 620 square feet, which, for somebody of my size, I make it sound like like, I'm a 5'9" kind of guy. Did that even make sense? I don't even know. Um, but no, I'm like 5'9 and 3/4. I can't say I'm 5'10" unless you want to round it, but I really can't say 5'10" because I'm not there yet. Or I don't. I think I've stopped growing. So 5'9 and 3/4 is the cap. I cannot grow unless I wear boots. Then that just makes me, yeah, that makes me 5'10" for sure. But um, that's just yeah, 5'9 and 3/4. But on my driver's license, it says I'm 5'11", which I don't know how they got that. Maybe I was just too tired and like, yeah, I'm just gonna put 5 and a 1 and a 1. Yeah, just why not, right? That's just like 2 inches away, not a big deal. Um, but yeah, but the good thing is my license expires this year, so I can finally, hopefully, I can get that changed. I don't know if I can. Um, Speaking of my driver's license, it still has the same picture when I took it when I was 15, I think. And I remember it was well, I don't remember the day exactly, but I remember that it was early in the morning. Well, not okay, early for me, which was like 8 o'clock, and I think that's right when the DMV opens. Although, does anybody know when it opens? Or even when it closes. We only look for that kind of information when we need it. Like, when does Peter Piper's open? Or, when does Raising Cane's close? Because I don't know about y'all. And this is probably just me, but I used to work for Raising Cane's. This was years ago. And something about their chicken, if you eat it by itself, it's terrible. And whoever's, if there's anybody listening who's like a big fan of Raising Cane's, like, oh, this guy said that. Oh, we can never serve this guy again. Well, okay, that's fine, honestly, because the chicken by itself, it's just disgusting. I don't know who in their right mind would just want to eat the chicken by itself, but that's not why you go to Raising Cane's. You go because of their cane sauce, which, okay, personally, I'm not proud of this, but I memorized the recipe for the cane sauce. And you'll see it like on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, that they post the recipe on there so you can make it your at home. The thing is, the portion sizes that they have, I don't know if it's like they've downgraded to where you can make it at home, but you got to remember that when they mix the stuff, it's inside of like a 5 gallon bucket. So unless you plan on having that personalized cane sauce at home, then you really need to like, you know, look at the portion sizes and then do the math to figure out how much you're gonna need for a personal size. Because unless you're gonna make a 5 bucket out of it, because you could get a lot. I think from back in my days, which I only worked there for 6 months, but I think for a 5 gallon bucket you can make uh and don't quote me on this, okay? I'm all just like, I'm trying to remember. This was years ago. Out of those little 2 ounce cups or the 3 ounce cups that you get with your order, you can make about, I'd say, in the neighborhood of like 75 to 100 of those little 2 ounces, those little 2 ounce cups. Now, if you plan on making that for yourself, go for it. Don't let me stop you, because obviously the people at Raising Cane's, I think they're out of Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they will go that far to, come to your door and say, hey, don't do that. You want the sauce? Go buy it, but don't make it here. And I seriously doubt that. But I always get a kick out of those. I don't know if it's like the real people over at like different restaurants or whatever, who who always like who they like to insult the people who comment on certain stuff, like McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King. I think it's Wendy's is the most well known for the tweets that they make, because it's like somebody like an intern is probably running their Twitter account, which, be it as it may, it's still hilarious. Like, because people will go onto Twitter, they'll completely skip Yelp, which I don't even think people use Yelp anymore, unless you're like genuinely looking for like a good place to, if you're feeling fancy, that's where you go to see like where's the best fanciest restaurant and what are people saying. So people still use Yelp, that's cool, but honestly, if you want a response directly from whoever it is, you go to Twitter. And Wendy's has always been notorious for being able to not only respond to tweets, but they do it in a fashion that is just, you really have to wonder who's running their Twitter page. And is it even like the official like Wendy's like, is it somebody from Wendy's running it? So whatever the case is, the replies are hilarious, and I probably should have pulled something up just to give you an idea. But trust me, go to Twitter, look up Wendy's, look at some of the responses they come out with, and you're welcome. Um, right, how did we even get to Wendy's here? Anyways, right, so, but yeah, let it be known, and if anybody wants to quote me, please, go for it. Raising Cane's as chicken fingers by themselves are just terrible. But you go there for the sauce, so you have the chicken fingers and the sauce. Those two, incredible. It immediately goes from zero to hero. Did I even say that right? Anyways, it's good. All right, it's really good. Is it worth spending like, what is it? I think it's like 10.50 for a box combo. I don't know. I can't tell you, that it. I guess with inflation going on, sure. I guess $10 is worth, four fingers, coleslaw, fries, and a drink. But that's the thing. Most people, unless you're weird, and I'm not saying people who like coleslaw are weird, but when's the last time you ever hung out with somebody who liked coleslaw? Yeah, riddle me that, right? So, most people, at least me, I will go and I will get it no slaw extra toast, because their fries are questionable. And I say questionable because they're never consistent on how they're cooked. Like, now obviously they're fried, but the thing is, their fries are just, and I don't know if it's like, what's the process from like, oh, actually I should know, I work there. Anyways, I don't know what it is, but when it comes from the kitchen to the table, they immediately just lose like the crunchiness. And I'm just like, why? So you have some people who get no slaw extra fries, and I'm like, why? That okay? Well, number one, the portion sizes are pretty generous, I will say, for the fries. But you got to ask yourself, for the fries that they make. I'm not saying that they're bad. It's just, I don't know how they go like out of the fryer into the little heating thing, and I totally forgot what it's called. So don't hate me on it, but I don't get how it goes from there to the little personal plate that they give you when they serve you your food, that it immediately just goes to room temperature and it's not crunchy. Like, it's left to be desired. That's how I would put it. So I don't even bother with that. So when I get my combo, I do no slaw extra toast, because you really can't. Well, you can't mess up the toast. Okay, you can, but if you do, how? Or better yet, why? Why would you do that? You know, like what did you accomplish from messing up toast? Because I mean, if you toast it wrong, it's still bread, okay? But the thing about it is when you have toast, it just I don't know. Their toast is different, but they have the nerve to call it Texas toast. It's like, no, it's not. Have you seen Texas toast? Just go to Whataburger or literally go to any store, HEB for example, and you look at their Texas toast. It is big and square. What does Raising Cane's have? Probably not even half that size, but for some reason, it still tastes good. I don't know if it's like the sesame seeds that go on it, or it's just the butter that they use, or how it's toasted. I don't know, but it's good. All right, I'll vouch for them that far. But as far as the chicken by itself, no. I don't know. That's just my thing, though. Um, right. I had a point to that, and I'm not entirely sure where I was going with it. Oh well, that's just the beauty of this first the well, that's the beauty of this first podcast, right? We're gonna get all this out of the way and see how it goes. And if y'all like it, that's great. Then maybe we could do something about it. Like as in I can actually commit to doing this more and have tangible topics that I can stick with and make something of it. But at this point, they're pretty much just opinions. Like I can't really make factoids on it. But I know some of y'all have recommended like I should talk about relationships, which that in itself, come on, I'm not the most qualified, nor am I the most experienced. Like overall, I've only like seriously dated. I've only had 3 serious relationships, which is that the criteria in order to talk about relationships? I don't think so. Um, in time, maybe, but I don't know if I'm even qualified. I think that's just more of perspective and experience. So I could talk about my experience, although not entirely sure how that would go because it's not like I'm gonna. Well, it's not like I have that power to select who's gonna listen to it and who's not. So you know, if the people, I mean, it's 3 though. Like 3 out of like I don't know how many people are on this planet. I should have done more research on that before I even started. But be it as it may, whoever listens to this, it's really just me putting my voice out there just because why not? So if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. I'm not gonna force it. I'm not gonna tell you that you need to listen to this or like because your life depends on it. Like no, this is just. And the thing is, I may not even stick to this. Like I know for the longest time, those of y'all who followed me on Snapchat, by the way, it's Cowboy 1192. I post riveting stuff, which is either me or memes. So either or, pick a lane. And at some point I will, but I end up posting both of those. So, but like I said, Cowboy 1192. That's my Snapchat, and yeah, you should give it a follow. Um, if you want like dried and humorless humor that are my memes. um, but I know I said for the longest time that I was gonna do. I think I did say I was gonna make a podcast, or I was gonna do like, or I was gonna do some sort of like a similar style of a podcast, like do videos, because that's pretty much what I did. From the time I realized what Snapchat really was, which I mean, it's cool and all that you get to record, but if y'all remember when Snapchat first started, like you were only allowed to make 10-second videos, which was cool. And I think they were doing it to compete with Vine back in the day, which with Vine, if y'all remember, this is going to show my age, I guess. Vine, you only had 6 seconds to post something, and that was your content. Snapchat, you had 10, which I guess if what you had on Vine wasn't enough, that you needed the extra 4 seconds to post, then you went to Snapchat, which, whatever the case is, it found a way to stick around this long. And I think the key to why Snapchat still exists was, well, back then, if you sent somebody something that's, that was 10 seconds long, that's it. Like, you send it to them, and it was like, that was it. Like, you could replay it one more time in case you missed something or you didn't hear anything. But once it played, that was it. Like, you couldn't keep it unless you knew how to like screen record, which if you have an Apple product or literally any other device that lets you uh, record stuff on your phone, excuse me. Um, yeah, like with Snapchat, you had 10 seconds to post something for yourself or you post it to others. So when you post it to others, like if you send a 10-second video and as soon as they opened it, that was it. Like you couldn't save it unless you screen record it, and they would get notified that the person that you sent it to screen recorded. So you can either do that or you just watch it and then let it go, which was, I guess, that's Snapchat's trademark, was that, and I guess that's why they use a ghost as a logo, because it just disappears, just like this last date that I had. I was supposed to go on a date with them, and then they just disappeared. Like, what the hell? Anyways, um, yeah. So that was Snapchat's thing, and ever since I discovered what that was, and yeah, I was that guy who would post 10-second stuff. And whether it was just talking about nonsense or it was actually talking about stuff that either got on my nerves or just in general I just wanted to talk about it, that was a platform I used. And then Snapchat got clever and they said, "Hey, if you're going to use this for 10 seconds, what if you were able to use it for a minute?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll give that a try." And I did. Once I had that option to be able to record for a whole minute, that was nice. And it's still like that to this day, that you can record stuff for a minute. And you could send stuff like videos and other stuff, like if as long as it's like a minute or under, you could send it to people. Unfortunately, if it's over a minute, then you'll have to like go into like your personal library and you're gonna have to like chop it up. Like if it's like a 5 minute video, you're gonna have to chop it up 5 times, so you get 1 minute here, 1 minute there. So I've done that a couple times. Like I said, it just depends on um, what it is. Otherwise, you send it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. At least you have that option. Um, but yeah, that was Snapchat's thing. Anyways, the whole point of that was I use Snapchat as a way to pretty much do what I'm doing right now, except y'all can't see me. Y'all can just hear me. And if y'all liked it, if y'all like hearing my voice, then, well, you're going to get it. That's if I actually stick with this. Um, but yeah, I have been wanting to do this for quite some time, and I wanted to do this with a couple people. As a matter of fact, I have a couple friends who are they have a podcast going right now. It's called "Don't Ash on My Couch." I'll put a link somewhere, or you could look it up on SoundCloud. I'm not entirely sure how long they've been doing this for, but they have a really solid podcast. Like they're definitely somebody that you will want to listen to. Ironically, I say that, and I'm not one to listen to podcasts, but they're definitely um, a good podcast to listen to. So definitely recommend it. And I'm not just being biased, or maybe I am. Well, I don't. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but whatever. Give them a listen. And those are the people I wanted to do the podcast with, because they're a really good group of people. I met them at work. Still good friends with them to this day. I think we met back in like 2013, 2014. So coming up on 10 years, believe it or not. That's insane. Um, but yeah, so I'm glad that they're able to do a podcast, and it's great. It's actually really good stuff. If you get a chance to listen to them. But in this case, I get to do this by myself, which is fine. I figured if I'm going to get my footing or get my foot in the door with the whole podcast thing, I at least can figure out how I want to do it, what I want to say, and if there's an audience for this. Because if there is, then okay, then I'll do a better job of actually being consistent with doing this rather than hoping that I'm going to rant on Snapchat like some of y'all have been dying for me to do. Y'all make it sound like y'all can't live unless I post something on Snapchat at least once or twice a week. Like if it's a rant or if it's just something. Which is like, okay, look, there's other people out there. I'm not that interesting, okay? But with the podcast thing, maybe I could be a tad bit interesting. Maybe. Just a little bit. Just a little bit more interesting. Well, we'll see. Um, right. So I've been talking for this long. God. Um, right. So the main thing I just wanted to talk about, I guess it was really just about me, but I won't get too into specifics unless there's like y'all have like dire questions, like y'all need to know this about me. Um, the main thing I just wanted to talk about was and this was something I've been thinking about, and it's like, well, this is at least a good start, right? Um, Other than my food choices and all this and that. Well, the main thing I wanted to get out there was that, like I said at the very beginning, I'm going to be 30 this year. And if I look back at the stuff that I've accomplished in the last 2 decades, I mean, could you really say that you've lived a good life if you've only been around for 30 years? Considering that of those years, 18 of them were pretty much spent with, depending on who you were, you spent it with the same group of people, under the same building, well, different buildings, elementary, middle, high school, unless you move schools or you move city, states, whatever the case is. Um, you were still confined to a set schedule, and it was also spent with other people. And so subtract 18 from 30, so that's what, 12? That's 12 years that you live without a schedule, without um, having to go to an institution. Unless you went to college, then that pretty much just stayed with you for as long. So if you went for an associate's like I did, which I went for a couple of them, and I didn't amount to a couple of, well, I didn't amount to two of them until I decided to go for my broadcasting degree, which I have my associate's in. Um, but of course, that took some time. I did a couple years of discovering of what am I really capable of? And honestly, I had no idea. I thought as a junior going into senior year, I thought I was destined to become like either a music teacher or I was gonna make something of playing the tuba, which that was my instrument. Only because I had braces when I was a kid, and that pretty much was the reason why I couldn't play any small brass instruments, like a trumpet or a trombone, even a baritone I couldn't even play. But the tuba had the perfect the perfect mouthpiece for my lips, which was it was no, I mean, I can't even remember. It's already been that long, but it was nice. It was nice to, be able to still use these lips for something, right? um, but yeah, that was my plan at least that's what I told myself, that I can either go for like a teacher's degree or like a to become a music teacher, or just go into school and hopefully graduate with becoming somewhat of a master in tuba playing, which eh, I could have, and maybe I should have done that, but things happen for a reason, right? So, anyways, once I realized that music education wasn't the path for me, I was kind of lost. I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do after that. I didn't necessarily have a backup plan. I was just hoping that it was going to work out, which it kind of did. But when you, and I'm not saying this is for college in general, but where I went to, it was a community college, so can't even say much about that. But where I was at, they offer, it was like a half and half. I guess it was like a half and half degree. Like you would get your like you would start the degree with physical classes, which obviously you had to go in person and you had to be in a classroom, and that's how it was for like a year. And then the next year, which is the second half, all of it was going to be spent online, which that's cool and all if it's for convenience, but I was never somebody who just went at your own pace. That kind of what it was. Um, like I feel like I have to be in a classroom setting. Like I'm a hands-on kind of guy. Like I gotta use my hands in order to like pretty much capture um and perfect the whatever it is I'm working on. So if it was music, obviously I wanted to be there so I can ask like questions to the teacher or ask other my classmates or friends, whatever. Um, you could technically do it online, and it's gotten better over the years. Obviously, Zoom being one of like the big the biggest, like I'd say one of like the most, probably everyone's first choice when it comes to video conferencing, or just having a group of people into one conference, which is cool and all. But I never could do that. I could never do anything online. I could never just go at your own pace. Like I had to be in a physical classroom with a teacher um, and other classmates. So because of that, that pretty much was the deciding factor then that I was like, okay, I would rather not pursue this anymore, which was unfortunate because it's not like I would have made something of it. I probably could have again had I kept on the path, maybe I would have made something. But you know, we're here now, and that's what matters, right? Um, so I think it was like another year would go by, and I tried out in the Air Force Reserves, and I didn't make it because I missed qualifying by a pound. So yeah, I was 1 pound overweight, which was like, ugh, yeah, I was pretty upset about that. But had that not have happened, I wouldn't be here right now because, in a way, that kind of just opened my eyes into realizing that had I gotten in, then my life pretty much would have been figured out for me because they would have structured my life based on what they see fit, which that would have been fine. At least it would have put me in a direction to follow. Um, but since that didn't work out, I decided to dip my toes into another field, which at the time was digital media, which is what got my start into understanding how videography, video editing, audio editing, and just all of like basically everything that I know, not everything, but the stuff that I know now, which is like editing software, audio software, well, video editing software, and just using the proper tools to video record and video edit, which was big. I thought it was big at the time to be able to learn something like that, and I could make something of it. Like I could have gone into cinematography, but um, when I picked digital media, they were just basically just um, the whole point of digital media. What I was told was that you pretty much dip your toes into pretty much everything just to get an idea of like what you're going to be working with. So it was basically just um, well, just that, but um, you wouldn't necessarily get a real definite or like you wouldn't spend time on one thing. Like you would be thrown into photography, videography, audio engineering, and um, you know even making websites, and even I think I think it was web, like, was it website marketing or something like that? I'm not entirely sure. It's been that while, or it's been a long time. Um, but at least it got me more interested in wanting to do videography and editing, like video editing. And so I came across another school, another community college, who offered pretty much what I was already being taught, but with more emphasis on, you know, doing more video, like more videography and editing, which was radio, television, broadcasting. So I transferred schools in 2014, and it's immediately like the first day that I started, I was in love. I fell in love with videography and editing, and I always thought that if I could do something with this, then it's gonna be perfect. I'll make it big, hopefully. Um, so I did that, graduated in 2016, and then I did an internship prior to graduating with the company that I was with. That they ended up taking me in full time. They hired me full time, and I was with them for 4 years. And unfortunately, with COVID happening a couple years ago, they let me go. And yeah, I mean, I was pretty disappointed. That's putting it lightly. Um, but I was just I didn't understand. I was just a fresh out of college individual who just wanted to make something big, either for myself or for whoever the company I would work for, and to be cut off from that was yeah, it sucked. It definitely sucked. So I wasn't entirely sure what to do after that, and then it just turned into, well, nobody's really hiring in this field, um, and as a matter of fact, a lot of people were getting let go. So it was like any possibility of me getting hired um, at another TV station was pretty slim. So, um, yeah, I was unemployed for a month, and then I got hired with the company that I'm working for now, and that I'm actually coming up on 2 years in May, which is that's interesting, I must say. I didn't think I was going to be there that long. To be quite honest with you, I was only going to be with them for a couple months, and I was hoping to find a way out. But of course, you meet somebody, and that's pretty much all it takes is to stay. And that itself is a different story. But um, so I've been with the company since, and you know, I I have no complaints with them other than just the inconsistent schedule. But I mean, I feel like that's with any job, like I guess any job like that. But nonetheless, I'm just grateful to have a job, to be able to pay the bills and pay rent, because obviously if I didn't have this job, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't even have this opportunity to do this, right? So all things happen for a reason, and I'm pretty grateful for that. Um, but the main thing that I just wanted to stress was that I'm turning 30, and I don't really have much to look back on. You know, as I turn another decade old. Jeez. Um, because like my only like monumental, or what do they call it? What is it? I guess like what are your crowning achievements that you've accomplished in your lifetime? I've only graduated high school, graduated college, and um, that's pretty much it. Um, but through it all, of course, I've been fortunate to meet, um, you know, people here, but through it all, I've been able to meet some very awesome people, and I've been fortunate to be friends with them for this long. I don't really have like a lot of friends, which is, and that itself, I guess we can get into that. So, when I was in high school, even a little bit in middle school, like eighth grade to senior year, I wasn't. I never saw myself as like a social butterfly, but as it turned out, I found myself talking to a lot of people. I mean, it wasn't a lot. Like I knew everybody in the school, but it was just enough where, if you found me, you would either see me talking with people from band, or people from like from different classes or different clubs, organizations. But you would find me talking to someone or some people. Um, and I'm not entirely sure, if that's what I wanted to be. I mean, not that I wanted to be known for it, but um, it just grew every year that I was in high school. So, like freshman year, I was at a private school. So the people that you knew then, you were gonna know them, um, pretty much your entire high school life, or so I thought. Because sophomore year, I got yanked out of private school. Well, not yanked, but some stuff happened, and I at the last minute I got well, not transferred, but my parents thought it was a good idea to pull me out of private school to put me back in public school. So when I did, it came at a big surprise to a lot of people, me too, um, that I went to middle school with. They recognized me. They remembered me. They're like, "Jay, is that you?" I was like, "Yeah, that's me." They're like, "Oh my God, we haven't seen you since seventh grade. We thought you moved." And like, technically, I did, but I never left the city. Um, and from that point on, it seemed like every year I was making, I wouldn't say making, well, okay, yeah, I was making friends, and I was meeting new people, and you just go about it that way. Senior year was, that was the big moment, I guess, because I was drum major for the band. I was in debate. I was in mariachi briefly. I was on the bowling team. I was captain of bowling team. Uh, I was also well, I don't know if other schools do this or if they still do this, but we had like a little, how do I put this? We had like a little TV network station. I guess that's how you would call it. In between lunches, they would come on the TV. Obviously, this wasn't broadcasted everywhere. It was just broadcasted in the school. It was called HBCN, which that was clever actually. Um, and that was pretty much like the news station for the school. That pretty much we just talked about what's going on around the school, when's the next football game, or certain events going on that had the school involved. I did that as well. So yeah, my face was out there, and people knew me either because of that or because of band or just other stuff. So people knew me or they knew of me, which was like cool. The exposure was definitely there. Um, and then of course when you graduate, it's like a snap of the fingers. Like everybody that you knew just kind of like disappears unless it's like that small group of people that either stuck around this long or you just you would try your best to keep in touch with them because that's pretty much what everyone did. We tried our best, and we still tell ourselves that we did what we could to keep in contact with people that we went to school with. But nowadays, you can find them anywhere, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I mean, even Discord if you wanted to, or even Twitch. That's another place you can find people. But fast forward to now, like I used to talk to almost everybody, but now I only talk to maybe off the top of my head, like maybe I say 7 or 8 people that I genuinely keep in touch with. That's not counting family, because I mean, family is with you for the rest of your life, whether you want them to or not. Um, but like I said, it's a small circle, like a really small circle, and I'd rather have it that way because it's best to keep the people that have been there for you, no matter the like no matter what situation you're in, good or bad, like having those people there, that's what I feel matters more than anything. So that's why like I can count on that small group of people that I've been close to. And you know, I don't have any regrets, of course. Um, but yeah, that's I'm definitely grateful for them. Grateful to have met them. Grateful to have had the moments that we've had, good and bad. Um, and like I said, I play online with some of them, and it's always good. Even if we're too into the game that we don't even talk about like stuff going on within our own lives. It's just good to be able to talk to them and just another form of decompressing, sure, but it's just nice to, I guess, quote unquote, socialize, um, and have that option to be able to talk to other people, to talk to your online friends. That's always nice. Yeah, you know what? I think that's gonna do it for at least this first podcast or this first episode of the podcast. Um, like I said, I don't know if this is gonna be something I could commit to like fully, just because obviously I have a life and I work and I actually do have a life somewhat. But I want to be able to at least get this out there, and if y'all enjoy this, let me know. And if there's something that you feel I should talk about, or like I said, anything that's worth discussing, then I'll I'll discuss it. Right now, my only option to contact me would be through well, right now it's just through my Snapchat, which you can find me at Cowboy1192. That's COWBOY1192. Or if you're feeling fancy, which I don't blame y'all if y'all aren't, you can also contact me via email. That's baconcowboymedia@gmail.com. Once again, baconcowboymedia@gmail.com. And y'all know it's me because I have like a little like logo that I had made. This was back when I was doing the food reviews, which is like also 2 years ago. But that is kind of on the back burner for now. It's funny. I make time for a podcast, but I can't make time for a food review. What is wrong with me? I don't know, but we'll figure that out, right? But like I said, those are my ways of contacting me right now. I will eventually, if this becomes a thing and this gets a little, I don't know if this is going to grow. Maybe. We'll see. Then I'll have other ways of contact. But right now, it's just going to be Gmail and my Snap. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. Thank you again for coming in and listening to my first ever episode of the Bacon Cowboy podcast. Like I said, names pending. I don't know if that's what I want to call it, or I need to think of something clever. I mean, I think it's clever, but of course, everyone's got an opinion, and I would love to hear it. But yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you all for coming in. I hope the rest of your week / month / year goes well. And if not, hey, you know what? As bad as things are, they could be a lot worse. And if nothing else, y'all take care.